Namo Guru Be Namo Bedaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Khande Laje Gwenje Dogan Raga Shosang Pongde Chunze Cheje Nyabo Gwenje Losanta Sedan Cheba Nede Shesu Denye Nanga Sende Bende Cheze Lama Yebe Zonga Talo Debe Sena Shinjo Tenba Yeje Geya Shuso Sheje Chungwe Jabe Lode Peza Nave Genjo Leshe Tabe Beye Lame Tongde Jembe Zende Lacha Yewo Cheye Lazo Medo Geshe Lobe Nangsen Deja Weja Yedu Chuden Yazo Sena Xingzhuo Tiela Cheba Kanxie Tongmen Tene Saba Lungwa Yeso Mige Jijia Keabaran Dongba Sumye Mede Ningne Yuban Zhabe Sus Ningme Dede Mande Zhola Sheye Bangben Denjo Denye Gombo Cheje Labjen Zem Daja Samban Tabe Yira Cheze Laman Damba Chena Shugwe Pala Kenje Dente Cheda Samben Deje Semo Saje Cheye Chawa Abdo Namda Vese Yingle Xingba Sonjo Guola Chado Minga Tame Nangwo Shugu Rada Side Bando Minu Denba Taso Xinye Sabe Yewa Dendang Zhuwa Guanla Chebra Shizi Lusang Chaba Denbe Ningbo Rendo Seje Mingme Zebe Dejen Jenres Time Kimbe Wangbo Jambe Bebo Manglu Zhongze Sangwe Hanjin Kebe Zhujian Zonga Lozan Chabe Shalai Sowan Meme Zebe Dejin Time Kimbe Wangbo Jambe Bebo Manglu Zhongze Sangwe Hanjin Kebe Zhujian Zonga Losan Chabe Shalai Sowan Meme Zebe Dejin Jenre Time Kimbe Wangbo Jambe Bebo Manglu Panje Kebe Zoje Lozan Chambe Shabla Sowa Pande Zawe Lama Rimbo Tazo Jiwur Benden Denjo Kaji Chenbu Kone Cheso Guzon Toji Weru Zedo Panden Zawe Lama Rimbo Tazo Ningara Bemen Denjo Kaji Chenbu Kone Cheso Choda Temu Weru Zedo Panden Zawe Lama Rimbo Tazo Ningara Bemen Denjo Kaji Chenbu Kone Changzhou Ningbu Ba Denba Anju Masanju Ra Paru Maje Manga Namge Wogo Sozo Rari Yishi Duzun Sanze Lo Deon Ta Gade Para Sam Bode Yeso Ha Deon Ta Gade Para Sam Gade Bode Deon Ta Gade Para Sam Gade Bode Yeso Gere Tongda Jaju Shewa Mede Nebe Jenda Pezon Sojo Jaji Le Anjo Sa Shin Jo Lo Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate bodhicitta motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings, with that kind of at least contrived altruistic bodhicitta motivation, we should all participate in this Bodhisattva's discourse on the perfection of wisdom or wisdom gone beyond.
다디 시중도 되니까 다 코아 계시 줘도 코아 줘야 남강가다 강가 사당 좀 해서 그래서 다때야 이 공부하시고 있어요. 디레시 제마 해야지.
가르카나 베게.
라
가르쳐 베게 고마치게.
코아 코도 그 주도 가리 니모 가리 고고면 타바야 타바 가지 도그면 제가가 다 사당 좀 해서로 그래서 들이야 양양 공 Yes.
No, sure. Where we left off in this guide before the long break, so to speak, we already talked about what keep us wander or go round in samsara, cyclic existence. As a matter of fact, we talked about this, that afflictive emotions or delusions are the ones that trap us in samsara, and we go through all kinds of unwanted experience of suffering and misery. But we also talked about what can help us to be free from samsara or liberated from samsara. Yeah? So in other words, we talked about the conditions in samsara and how can we get ourselves out of this condition, in other words, the path that can liberate us. So it is vital for us to familiarize our mind with all the things we talked about, in particular the path that can free us from samsara.
단어로 제시베 동의지 날 너지시 냥에 샤오버 때문에 대대 시바는 시바를 참 신이 신도 동의해요. 동의 되어려면 저니 동의제 동섭 동주상야 메동 메동의 lumbo 가야 동의 슈 싱싱 네가 대다기 미유듯이 대다 미유듯이 돼 기우제 예수 제 쇼기 냥에서 뭐지 벨로베 신여지 저기 치르반 것이 중어서 쇼네서 야야 추시데 되는 야야 매를 줘봐 제대 까들게 동안 까들게 돈에 신이 동어와 내자 제답을 두수 제 당이 연도도 탑에 줄러봐 현어 제대 시바다 나가다 세워서 내 타양 가시메베 네 자신을 거봐 탑이 여봐 답은 가다 쉬어 몸이 봐 신디스 파우장데 스데지 나라 세사와다 니 로바다 제무담 마서 내가도 밤에 집에서 지체 내바나서 당번 예도 때 예도 때 다동 미시 냐밤 차원유 쇼원냐데 제가 che nga te lobo ni du se do de me la ju se mi shida so me wa ni ki so zhe ni se ba chen ni se ba xian ni yin so dong du ge me se ba se tok ba su du se wo ye so te ta bu che de me de ning xie da shiba chen ba gong zhe ba tian du si我定大考试，读研那就这样上去，真的，你说是这个是不是这边，可读研别那呢，也有的现在这电话读些现在别，读研吧忙我现在，读研读一些电话，现在这些的看着就看长的上，我听说上个过去，这里呀，考完了读研的他要上么样东。你可能你就是他刚刚，考就刚刚上手，现在得考虑的，因这里他要他别那么广大的，我只是刚刚别，这个是马下去，饮食问题别，人这过年你别什么样都两是两回事，我的说的。
I'm using this English translation of the guide by Stephen Batchelor's. I think we are on page 180. So what Geshe said earlier and continues to say, it pertains to stanzas 157 and so on. As Geshe explains, now having studied the samsaric conditions, how samsara is fraught with all kinds of unwanted suffering. And among many reasons why we are still stuck in samsara is because we regard that which is in the nature of suffering as pleasurable or happiness. We have that kind of misconception, if you will. But in reality, samsara is not a happy condition to be in. So reflecting on the suffering nature of samsara and acquainting our mind with such understanding or the knowledge that we are able to develop the wish to be free from samsara. We do not want to stay in this condition anymore. And relating to that, now what can really help us to get out of samsara is the path of wisdom gone beyond that we talk about, which is the path of liberating path that can liberate us from the state of samsara. So we have already talked about these things and we have understanding of these things. And we should not simply leave everything at the level of understanding or intellectual understanding. Now we have to integrate that understanding, knowledge with our own life experiences so that it really speaks to us very deeply, that thinking about the suffering nature of samsara, thinking about the wisdom path that can free us from samsara, then we are able to bring everything into our practice and in experience level. So that's very important.
What is it? That in the last some done Jerry is going. Injection number Zidane Dembas. Sumba did so come about some demony. Mercheva did you saw some the made doing. Since the music said, Jinso, Geshe Gyeltsen the level. So about maybe feasible. Show me where the man Nimela Sobo, Rang de Soji, some Yoshi to me Soji, Shai Dungi met the Shua Shai Chinese. Turi J. P. Puzzle Goba Shiva, Dani, Namji, Junior, Shendon Kurchegi, Ninja Shembu Goma, Da. Ya Davi. Najik said, Tenzin Dorjee, Demi Universe, Shiraj Gone Kana, Corso Migo Sud Dobre, Yishi Soda, Title Shendon Tavi, Shada, Kushi Joa the Chevi, the Joshua, Sonus so Badi Meva Sades. Shandon Drive, Jut Sony Yamdan Dembi Gone, Tenzin Migbe, Chindi, Sibe Neso, Yam Tajan, Puma Chive, Simjanada. Sibe Dungi Dready, Kiwanyang Dava, Top Shiki, Top Shiki, Goji, Samo Tomba Nigi, Tomba Jernandi, Shandok. Hotel da Nijo Sambajet, Ninja, Shandok Kurje, Ninja, Conje. Dunga sozo ya pe siya tabi sozo shawa sana tede ninja shusho de shendo kurjesi wa da sisa tendo ninja se ganga jesu wa si dunga sozo se wa sana ya kordu lango de shendo kurjesi wa korchera do korje gone ninja shembo de kaza saba jashwa da kanji chonyi da东西不写了的，小学时候我第一个呀，你恐怖的呢，你是不是他们也这个苦见你是啥子？我认识，我这时候的苦见你是啥子？这是个对吧？可是马拉东西不买这不说那个。人家要的，我这时候东亚爸爸要嘛是吧？是这个少了没？那人家也东啥呀？爸爸要嘛，这是要嘛是？就说东头，对吧？你是不是要得开心过的？你都知道的呀。可是人家全部要的是，可以是，苦见人家要嘛这些，可以是呢，人家全部要嘛。东也是这样的，不好要嘛是吧？我现在到提拔项目的开个是，东也的，也这我说，说我不完整的，你可见过的是，我的开学学的少呀。
As Krishna explained, that when we think in terms of the path developments, if you will, first we try to develop what we call renunciation or ngenjung in Tibetan, aversion to suffering in samsara, ngenjung. The first of the three principal paths. And so we're able to do that when we deeply see and experience the suffering nature of samsara, that samsara is not a happy situation to be in, and we would like to be out of samsara or seek freedom from samsara or nirvana from samsara. Then based upon our own personal experiences and deep understanding of the suffering nature of samsara, From Mahayana or Bodhisattva's yana point of view, we also try to understand that all other beings have been in the same condition, right? None of us wants any kind of suffering, but all of us are in samsara, in the state of suffering. So when we develop the wish for all beings to be free from samsara and its causes, that feeling is called Mahakaruna or great compassion, Nyingzi Chenpo. It's not just a compassion, it's a great compassion, Nyingzi Chenpo, Mahakaruna. And here the emphasis that's put on is not just having that thought or the feeling how nice it would be if all beings are free of samsara, but we would like to develop that sense of personal responsibility, that may I be able to help beings to be free from the state of suffering. Yeah, so that's very important. In Tibetan it's called Shendun Kurtye Nyingje, means you take personal responsibility on your shoulders as you develop that kind of great compassion. Yeah. Because it's possible that somebody can develop this wish, wishing everybody else to be free from suffering, which is great compassion. But without that sense of personal responsibility, I would like, may I be able to do that? How nice if I could do that? May I be able to do that? That sense of personal responsibility is very, very important when we think in terms of bodhisattva paths and practices and deeds. So then we combine, actually it's from that kind of great compassion we give rise to bodhicitta, bodhisattva's state of mind, or altruistic state of mind, seeking enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. And then we integrate that with the wisdom realizing emptiness. This is how, in our practice, we try to integrate all the three principal paths: the path of renunciation, the path of compassion, bodhicitta arising out of great compassion, that is, accorded with a personal sense of responsibility. May I be able to free everybody from suffering, and then the understanding, as well as if you do have realization of emptiness. And so this compassion that is accorded with, or that comes with the personal sense of responsibility, is just like when you have the ability to help someone, you don't put that responsibility on anybody else. I'll do it, isn't it? But if you don't have the ability, we can't do it. An example Geshe has given is, let's say, a mom with certain disability, and her child is being carried away by the water or the rivers. There's not much she can do. She feels all the compassion, right, to save her child, but she herself does not have the ability to take the responsibility that I would like to do that. Yeah? So that's why in the Buddhist literature there is these divergent viewpoints, and some scholars assert that even Sharvakas or the hearers, they could have great compassion, Mahakaruna, but they definitely do not have that sense of personal responsibility. I'm going to be liberate everybody else, or may I be able to do that? They don't have that sense of personal responsibility or shouldering the responsibility, but they do have a sense of great compassion. Other scholars say no, great compassion is the path of bodhisattvas of Mahayana, right? And Sharvakas cannot have that. So we can find these divergent viewpoints where some say that even Sharvakas could have great compassion, but it doesn't come with that personal sense of shouldering responsibility. Whereas Bodhisattva's great compassion, it is characterized by that personal sense of responsibility. So in the Mahayana path and practices. So developing that sense of personal sense of responsibility, shouldering, is essential. It's a very, very important thing, because through that we develop this level of Tibetan word is called poba, confidence, right? Yes, may I be able to do that? Yes, I can. Right? So that's important.
What is a Karsa? Could you get the idea? That is a Ranjala, Letamboa, Tale, Tonichi, Yingja Sunjuki, Lamna, Logova, Damba, Imbina, Geshe Phuntsok Number Tava, Sanji Meja, Gotter Mejumala, loved it. Ranshi, Chine, Ranshi, the Pemba Tagina, Ranshi, Pemba Yihuba, she Shuna, Shundi, Nigolana Meva, Trevor Lawsos. Would take that concept. This is what Daddy Navajo was, shown the Batosum shed and the Raji, Tony Modia. Now then dropped to a shown and that Jones will be Tosum, she will quarter of this show or this is.
So as Krishna explained, that the intention behind or the purpose of studying extensively is once we learn about the practice, that we must implement it, we must put into practice. So we are able to bring into practice what we know, what we understand, what we have learned, then it all makes sense, right? We are fulfilling the purpose of study.
That typically joy is there may get the Shinda Shembu, Guambashin, Geshe Simba Namji, Lecture, Shona Ter, Tambu, Leshinji, Che du Kole Gagi, Di Shi, Wonde, Tokyo Shundong, Sabji Lin, Dani Jamba Shongshin, Lodrishin, Tiji Shiver to me, Leva Kang. Che Jeng De Namla Ying Sha Sambi Double Shun that day, Karsa Sambi Guvadu, she was deep Karsana. She does a book, Gomba, Shida, in the Karsa, Joey, Shun Den, Tambu Lizzie, let Tambo almost two at you, and the Trevi is. Every day in the Shumpe, Gashe Phuntsok said the Koran was so much Sheriff Shunju, said the Nundu Shungilis, but Yagaga Delia and the Sevashir English, Sevashir is. So the legend said it.
I think towards the end, it seems as Krishna is explaining that great Bodhisattva, Mahasattva Shantideva, the author of Bodhisattva Char Avatar, engaging in Bodhisattva deeds, this wonderful text. He says that relying upon the authentic treatises of great pioneers, right? That Shingda Chenpo in Tibetan, that I have tried to explain things, in an understandable way as much as I could, especially keeping in my mind the people with what we call not so sharp faculties. But because Buddha's teaching is very vast, Bodhisattva's actions are very profound, that I may not been able to explain everything clearly as I wish to. I might have made mistake, possibly. So I would like to ask for forgiveness, for whatever errors, one may find in this composition or writing.
What is the Kaza? Some Junsi Shivashina, so let Jogu Samu and Disho da Garza Sibashi, Yeva, Jede Sibar Chashitine. Sambeta was a Lixi Cha. Junsi Shivasina, Titele, Jogu Samu Lamsa, Disho de Gevetam Jumalu. Jinu shows. Udadi Mubadirva. Data Nudu Shungate, Nudu da Libasha de Shungiri. See the Libasha coming by the Karzina. Shakanga, the Junshi Shima Tiagangadi, Titole, Drugun, Lamsan, they showed there. Gevetam Jumalu Jinu shows. Or they tell more that they give out the Karzina. Rugunbe and the Tibetan Lama showed the Javet Tamjumal in Ziavi, or tea, Jolomogis, or things.
The great Shantideva also states that possibly there may be errors in this work I have composed, but I'm also sure that things I have done well, explained, right? The good things also. So whatever merits or punya that have accumulated based upon all the things I have explained well, or the good things in this work, I dedicate the merit for all beings to be able to enter into the Bodhisattva path or the way of life, and through that process, may they be able to uphold the Buddha's teaching and achieve enlightenment.
What is that? That give it to me, Tenzin Dorjee, Xinyin, Xijin Samu, Sungji Liu的所有都明白，这些大的我这么说是。龙的刀把电别，从不我地方着。可能了呀，你怎么可能？现在等原著电视写的到，顶把个西进沙漠通到西进上些个，全部西进是生活地呢，但沙巴也是西进到一些了，我的是我。沙漠头松节的绿的少一当明白，也是大的我是这么说是，我也是大的我是那个水里边，各地些那个能就讲是用这个变出吸收的时候，大的我是，这我是样子，我听那些被人说全部讲说是，今天开始，弄到都被你们写了，弄到天津说呢。Zedinji, Lundo ne bun zözen gindi pel, Lundo shi, no da dere kaza, de, liu so da de be dembe to de sanji dembe to de, simje是，我直接写的写，那Lundo dembe de说Zedinji, da de dembe着，Lundo dembe你们写是。Zindeki, Lundo Norbu, Zola, Deja Gindi Pel, Lundo Shiro Tavi, Kashi Shos, Kanji Gindi, Daya Pavada, and the Lundo of Shiro Maneva Yaki Toja, Pava, or Tidaji Getal movies, or this year.
King Moveluna Pedive.
La,
King Moveluna Payamarwa.
when you do my, when you.
Alatanda, the Sherab Luna did the rogue.
La,
Sherab Luna shoot the roa.
ready here you.
Alonso.
That you did Zodo, huh?
I'll share a blue. Dina sik de tungmi duge.
야,
Tanda kengi Geshe Gyeltsen roage.
응,
Di tsawe sik na le dige tungmi doge.
그래.
Min duge. Di kengi
네,
kani
네 동말에 네 가르쳐서 네 다다 데려와. 네 좀봐봐. 네가 뭐노로 와. 네 자세히 조조 그런 용고.
ale di
다들 네 빠져면서 네가 가도 좀봐봐 그런 가지 시다르다.
ale zombab de dir wage sending che.
좀봐봐 다들 최이 잡았어. 저 거제 대 가르사. 네가 컴글라마 가르사.
Ale lonse di deba DJ dik se wage.
어, 네 다들 네 제가가 네 그런 거 맞아.
Yeah, I was wondering where it looks like Geshe doing dedication. I'm like, are you doing the dedication chapter? It looks like all dedication coming through. He said, no. So I said, are you still in chapter 9? He said, yes. I said, I don't see all the things you're saying in my root text here. So anyway, so Geshe gave us the clarification. I think the dedications that Geshe explaining are not that of the great Bodhisattva master of Shantideva, who is the author of the root text here, but it's the dedication of the commentator, the big commentary he's using there, and his name is regarded as Chodak, seems to be a great Tibetan master from the eastern part of Tibet, and so he's making his dedications, I think, towards the end of the wisdom chapter. So it's kind of confusing, looks like in the dedication chapter, but it's not, right? So we want to separate the two authors. Great Shantideva is the author of this text, the Bodhisattva Guide, but the Master Chodak is the commentator on this guide. So his dedications we're dealing with. So I hope that clears up the air, because I'm looking at all the texts and I couldn't find anything here. So anyway, now as Geshe explained, so the great commentator is making his dedications. He said, by whatever virtue I have accumulated by writing this commentary, I may have possibly made errors in this. I ask for forgiveness, but I might also have explained things well, so that's a good thing. So whatever merit I have gained from doing that, I dedicate those for all the beings to be able to follow the Bodhisattva path and uphold the Dharma and reach their enlightenment. But as he continues to make his dedications, he also says, may I too be able to really understand well the profound concept of emptiness and dependent arising, and develop this perfection of wisdom, or the wisdom gone beyond, because it's so profound, right? Not easy to understand, emptiness and dependent arising. So among the 84,000 discourses of the Buddha, which contain both discourses on the skillful path, upaya, the method, and the wisdom, jnana, and among all of these things, perhaps the core of Buddha's teaching pertains to the wisdom gone beyond, right? Pranjana paramita, which is very profound. So may I too be able to understand the concept of emptiness, dependent arising deeply, and develop that that wisdom. And just like the great Bodhisattva Sadaparudita, ever-crying Bodhisattva, right, known for his courage and sacrifices, may I too be able to have the same courage to uphold Dharma, or the teaching, and whatever merit I gain, I dedicate it for the flourishing of Dharma in terms of Sheba, explanation, teaching, and in terms of Duba, practice. So commentator is making those dedications.
다 적어도 삼나 뒤가 제가 되는 계획이 담아 농도 때문에 니마 소지세 렌트만 야고 왔다 Here, Namshe, Shudon, Yeri, Tambangashike, teaching, Pebatar, Juju Taju, Sheralu, Gabda. This indication to that, Tenju, to that, Tidu to be. Tambangashi, Sunju Nam Legion, Niwatu des, Shunuma, Shubar, Luma, Tide Shagi Chabes, round the Ganyu, Losungala, Pembe, Sambe, Be, Meva Gilis Churches, Jambi Nimbunamshu, Leshung Sing. Samotong the Tenzin Dorjee, Lungda Tenzin Jeva, Jupchir to Tsoma Gil, Tenzor, Le Shung, She Dega Zonsar, Trashi Lazarus, She Mamu, Saduna, never Jeva was. I did some get it to this shit or Joju Taji. Yes, that was Joju Taji or
No, so.
or Tishi Yashe,
No,
and the Teta Tuba today the tutor doing in Masumba is.
no, so.
Or Tikora,
No,
this somehow the Loju of that.
no, so. So basically, what Geshe read, that passage, the commentator is telling us that the way he wrote the commentary is largely based upon the great Gyeltsen sitting behind me, the one who looks more senior looking with gray hair like me there. His work on called Junjuk 30, commentary on the Bodhisattva Avatar Guide. So he said, I have largely kind of been benefited by that work in writing this commentary.
Well, that's what you call it, and that is, you know, she doesn't that you get zor. That didn't score, did what? That did Singje Ranshi, my share. That did share of Liu Delia, Singje was share of Liu, Chidong, Chidu Sorge machine, one of those here. Omagoma said that she had 20 shables do. She had Tima, she had a deer who did. Lost. So much Chiwarda. Couldn't that share of Liu, Singje again. Liu Chazan is Zozar. Those that they Juju Zal get them go share. She's not only you got it. My Dorjee here. But did the Omagoma as what you can do. She's a you wish I am my Geshe Gyeltsen.
공부를 합시다 그 수제고.
라.
공부를 합시다 수제는 이체.
Omagoma is Jermusi.
어제 뭐죠 어제게. 예, 삼.
Jermu da Oman the thinking to Omagoma is that. Some Juma Translator.
롱서.
Gumara says your patient some Shirayama. Juma.
So that completes what we called his commentary on chapter 9, the wisdom chapter, kind of largely based upon explaining the terms and the words, right? That's in the root text by Shantideva. And so now there's a separate, if you will, section where now not without need to refer to the root words in the textbook, right? He explains the emptiness. Now that's more like the conceptual meaning, right? This sort of like a meaning commentary. Is like a summarized sort of a meaning commentary on the concept of emptiness or the wisdom gone beyond. And Geshe says that that's more or less similar to what Lama Tsongkhapa, Rinpoche, sitting behind me in the middle, has done in his work called Uma Kongpa Rapsal, elucidating the middle way thought, right? And Lama Tsongkhapa authored many texts but that's one of his much later work or the treatise. And after that, really, Lama Tsongkhapa did not write hardly anything, so Geshe thought it would be useful if, like, based upon that, how should I say, like, summarized meaning section, he would like to explain that to us. Yeah.
Oh, that Joshua Corona, this was that Yongjo, ya Chidum sorry, here.
No, sir.
So I'll should have made it.
No.
Chidam got only to go here.
No, sir. So, in other words, what Geshe find at the end is that now, without need to worry about explaining the words of the root text in the Shantideva and bringing now free of that, relying on words too much is going to present the emptiness, right? Conceptually, in terms of meaning.
What is it that did that? Large Shamonation, Lardon Shamoto, Tizolia, there's it. Chevajo Mars, Tojo, that caught there, they cut the corner shape.
No, so. Those of you who have studied the great Lamrim treatise, treatises on the stages of the path enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa, the section on the special insight or Lakdong is a very extensive section, right? It also involves a lot of argumentation or disputation or what called all of that, refuting standpoints. But this section, it doesn't really get too much involved into refuting things here and there. So basically presents, right, the meaning of emptiness, if you will, itself.
Oh, there, you did, draw the Lord, the human gets Lord, and Gomar has it, a palu to the joy, you know, no one over shows. She's a tea, she's a daddy, she's a my shake and call chicken Kayamarta, Jojo the chicken Yorova, that the chicken Kayamari.
So I read that section and I found that it's very akin to Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation of emptiness in his work called Kongpa Rapsal, illustrating the middle way of the thought. And I personally found that really very interesting and I thought wonderful. And so I thought it would be nice to go through that. Of course, now that part of it, I don't have the oral transmission lineage, right, to explain that. What I have taught you about the Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, right, that's based upon lineage, oral, blessing, and transmission, but that section has no lineage transmission. It's just that I'm reading it and explaining it, okay?
Oh, that is sure of the Sudi City, subject to the woman land. Jimmy Chamber, Rangi, talks shit. Mimi took the hand of Don Banzay. Joba Tsunde, Shaja, Singeri, no. Geshe Gyeltsen, Koruso, Phuntsok Gyeltsen, Tam Samo, Nam Tam Samo, Mae Chujo Shembo, Damewa, Sungo Onju, Jambe Yana, Du, Subject Shura Shembo, Sumdrabe, Zalin, Zejin Sugar Hindache, Pandin Ludo Shada, T.C. Sugar Papa Lad Lion, Kusha Se, Papa Gomba, Tadu, that the Tamodi, Suju Tamoti Reja, and Sanya Jode the Shiva Shiva She. Then this Jode, Siji Yibatel, Jizin Jabe and Shivaji, that Jizin Jabe and the Jizin Shoju Seven Dabi. Casa, some Ometa showed the Nava, the Jambe and Shivaji, she or things like it. Mondo, Lucio Shimbu, Dameva, Songo, Jambe, you see the top of the 170 세 니바데게 있는 자베는 쇼바죠 시샤 어때리샤.
And so that section or the piece of work, it also begins with what we call expression of worship, literally translating, or the salutation to be symbol. So first, the author, makes salutation to Shakyamuni Buddha, who is the founder or the founding teacher of Buddha Dharma. And then the second stanza, he makes salutation to Manjushri. Among all different bodhisattvas, Bodhisattva Manjushri is highly regarded when it comes to presenting the view of emptiness. Looks like that's his specialization there, expertise, right? So salutation is made to Manjushri.
다디 주마데 마데 자lun제제 쇼 싱다시모 파바루저셰 샤데 디세 파바라 아얀데와셰 셰 자리 가사 파바라 라양 고자세 파베고바타도 땡교도 통문전세 규적 산지경 자 추신라메티 수시부 진지 다외샤라 그베티스 다 디조데레게 커서 파와루 좀체 디세 파와라 되네 파베고바타도 그게 담본제와지 그天主도모 상지장으로 상지장시 근데 디고바 야세야 저 더 잡아 콘도섬 콘도 ял야 시버지야리야.
So next couple of lines, he makes salutation to the great pioneer Arya Nagarjuna, Ludup, right? When it comes to the Madhyamaka or the middle way philosophy, Nagarjuna is a tall figure here. And also to his main disciple Aryadeva, right, as well. And as well as to Buddhapalita, who is acknowledged as the first as a pioneer in some sense of Prasangika Madhyamika school, right? And then to great Indian master Chandrakirti, who elucidated the work of Buddhapalita. So all these great masters he bowed down or makes salutations to.
상고자 제바도게 인주통 럽지 준지 쉐라다니 미주 오메랑사 세지 세니 마이니마 장고라마르디스 오데다 그래서 고자 제바도게 인주통세 예세 쉐와라 이게 고서 제바 듀 남다나 제바 듀 데로기 해야도아 거기 데레 차셔부 고서 제바 듀 어디 디고 되어와 어디 저 해다는 도 내가 다들 여보 책임은 되시다디 마 쉐스도 뭐 거기 그 자알 깨라셔 고서 제바 듀다로
just shivala
shivala 깨라셔 그 니즈시요 디시와 디시 내가 디레쇼게 이돌라에 해서도 신달 제베 제바도 디레 거기 고서 제바 듀요리.
Next, he makes salutation to the great Bodhisattva Shantideva, who is referred to as the one who did 7 amazing deeds. But at the moment, I don't recall all of them, but that includes in India those days, great Shantideva was known for those amazing deeds, which included, having this direct vision of meditational deities and so forth. Yes.
어디 희와라더니 민주오메랑사 세니 마에 니만자고라만 뒤스 제르부시제 희와냥도시 다 퇴대제 제발 오면서 진지 계속 신이 쇼남자 투지지에서 당아 유지주 전제 라만나라 그자체스 오다 지동 라마 그런 라마 유지리 인자 좋아 또 저저 민주 오메랑사 세리 가지고 지도들 라마 뭐 여러 대신에 퇴주다 세지 그 서안제 라마 뒤에 어디를 오메스 진제 계속 신이 쇼는다 투지 숨 투지 계속 당아 뒤지 전제 라마나라 그자세스 어디 투지시고 내내 오메 당아 당게 라마강가 샤세 인세 어디를
And then next he makes, of course, salutation to Rinpoche or Lama Tsongkhapa for elucidating the middle way. And then a couple of lines to respect his gurus. So he must have many gurus, particularly those who taught him the middle path in terms of Prasangika Madhyamika school, the highest Buddhist school of thought. So I said, out of your infinite compassion, so you taught me this middle path according to Prasangika, and I bow down to you.
Tini tuzun jewe hikyu de tandu zhungo kyangni tiko na tijin namshu debe se namsang ki, kesang ki samu ne de bebe tsu ring la yula teyo jewe gongsa toge cheri shingda shimbu shuzo zhangwa chi isi 어디 다 상제지도에 쇼우 지지도라 뭐서 어디나 라다 퍼쇼 남이로 시진도 있어요. 어다 시진도 서시게 저 이지면지 배 돈이 얘기도 되게 이지면지 아니 라드레고 리스티면서
같이 그랬게.
라
어디 거마 주게.
아니 시진 제가 저서다 그게 지도도 쇼 시부지 주시더디 시다 다라도 피디서 희진이 도송자 어떻게 줘야자 되게야 다시지네 콘디시 마셔버리세요.
So next couple lines he tells us that among 84,000 forms or discourses of Buddha's teaching, the most core teaching or the most important teaching or central teaching is the Pranjana Paramita or the wisdom gone beyond sutras, and so we should pay kind of like a special attention to that particular kind of discourse, right? Discourse on the perfection of wisdom or wisdom gone beyond, because that is the central teaching of Buddha.
제가 용도 시신 얘기해와 농대니와 박조 거사 이거나 대전 남주 대비 계산게 서문에 비벼서를 대야 계획고 봐서 또 계시를 신다 정부就是정말 시스 대배 랑도 계속 계획고 봐 라마도 신다 정부 주전修下的어디 자 제거레스 디시 그래서 지 전에 윤도시의 링저 롱대니와 pauso 루르비샤 디고메 삼니 타르투마 tenjur rigbe jashin robala lobon namsun gombay yanjudi chubjir de ya anjur de ki teme rigbe lamni leg tangbe ume chunglu cheda cheba tu tonyi todo omalan jugbe shira liu Sunday tao chumba. Shartse sordon shuba la jube. Hira liu shidon likparche. Dege lima samutin junki. Teko nani. Jela mombe mu. Seni ome lansan yang dene seji lihi rinje dome os. Ine ome lam da xingda xingbu jizu zhang te luzhou yazi jigu shanggu ri jida luzhou da pa ne sangje je dawa chabe de yo jizu zhang ne xie yis. Ine de yabo nyengu ri is ti sire zi ya.
So a couple of lines that Geshe read, we call it exhortations, right? Basically encouraging us to listen well to the teaching, and where the author says that one cannot explain the profound discourse of Pranjana Paramita, wisdom gone beyond on one's own. One has to depend upon the great works of pioneers, like in particular Arya Nagarjuna, Buddhapalita, and Chandakirti, right? Depending upon their works, then we should hope to understand, emptiness and the wisdom gone beyond. And so I will try to do that, and so I encourage you to listen well.
이 쇼는 해봐스 오메 따와도 뭐 갑도 시라도 해봐스 지도 당보 쇼는 해봐들 가르도서는 더 대야 개바다고 상지 동기 나네 때마까보다 뭔가 봐스 다자도 뭐 투시진 세메 더이진 갑도 쉬죠 지원하는 메와 강그 남바를 메도 현디 메바비 인제시부 모두 제네 디제도 제바데 신제담지 카운다 삼배 체월 나서와 지비 구수도 제바 책담을 잠지 제 조아메니 파 고네 상와소미 나바르와 사지메 짜진 잠레베 고네 모두 유데 되잖아 रानी जी नीव खोमाला रेंजी जेवा जेबा येला दुजा दुए ताई जोयं सिगे de 군조 조멜레 돌레 조아지에 고는 신예바 이 쇼지 고라 랍슈데 대다고는 남다 고다니 너 사바시 지데 심신도 제소바다 쇼기 주구다비 그와 소니 유자나지 유지 샤소 쉐베 고시이데 티니게 녀부 조여슈 점신쇼 제라 대탐지이 나온데 라디 푸드쇼니 시지인도이 대 유제 닝보 사드 시드드 닝보스 뉴제티 투베 앙보티 앙두 존니 제네 다메 싱게 노루 잡에 무리기 떠봐서 마와게베 레다나 참제 세게네데 마와라나 메가 조정스 또 대다이 거기 서지베 유자왕보 시도서 쉬어송고 디나 라드 시진이 디데 시지 동데 소소 랑즈바 킹마 힌다 셈부 지장고 지장 고모도 접다 아니 상시장서 지저는 시에 어디리시 제가 근데 디디 마 소소 어디 소소 힌다 셈부 소소 된 해고리스 소소 랑도 킹마리스 건세 더더 디자
So there are a couple outlines. The first one is contexting or giving us the background, right? So which basically says that Shakyamuni Buddha over there, he stands tall among many other Buddhas, and he's praised as like a white lotus, right? Very unique. In that, so among the 84,000 discourses he gave, taking into account the mental dispositions of different beings, and Buddha taught many things to accord the needs and the dispositions of sentient beings. But among all his teachings, as we said before, the one which is the core or the tops among all is the Pranjana Paramita teaching, or the wisdom gone beyond teaching. And whatever Buddha taught, the intention behind his teaching, so to speak, is either explicitly or directly or implicitly, indirectly lead everybody, right, to the same enlightened state that he himself found it, isn't it? So Buddha taught emptiness out of his own experiences. He didn't have to rely upon somebody else, right? He taught it out of that. But even though Buddha did that, for the rest of us, we cannot understand the emptiness just on our own. So we really need to rely upon the treatises or the works of great pioneers like Nagarjuna, Buddhapalita, Aryadeva, and Chandrakirti. Okay? So that's what we should be doing.
어디 다자 도배고 서모대중다 오메다 텐조 로교 동이 된 애들 추구 전화배 로시시게 되가 배 가서 생각을 배 리다 시세게 나바나지 애들 또뭐 현다가 세기 서모대중 담들이야 심지 담지 타베철에 고야 도다 어떻게 도다리야 애니 무리 또뭐다 짜 상식이 들이야送国这不都那个随时要嘛的是，我现在提倡上去说咱们这边送有的是，现在这里刚刚来没得这种这里呀，种这么大你种学这个咱的要嘛的是，我就是个是。
So as stated before, Buddha's teaching on emptiness of wisdom gone beyond is the core of his teaching. That nobody has ever taught this before Buddha, and especially he presented it in terms of Prasangika Madhyamika school, the highest Buddhist school of thought, and which is free of all the extremes, and nobody dare to be able to poke any weaknesses in that kind of presentation. So Buddha's teaching emptiness is like metaphorically the roar of a lion that frightens all other animals, right? The lion is the king of jungle. So when he roars, everybody else have to keep quiet. Cannot find fault in that. So like that, Buddha's voice on emptiness is kind of flawless.
마한다미 세야데 야 대주 소모고네 마한다미 제 대야 시로 뒤서 그 주고하게 맞서 종조자 라마니와 인상 에 마한다미 대주 소모고네 제리스 세다 뒤서 고볼루저게 도저 나리야 대주 소모고네 상질 가서 또뭐 그 세디 조르 마한다미 건 되어서 대주 소모고네 되어지 자 대중을 담들 때는 이제 마치 치료가 또 마시는 마치 쳐서 봐도야 총도에서 근데 지도야 사실 요데 마와담에 사지다 아니 가서 잠발라 님이 사지와 디나도 마와담에 사지도 조샤 예서서 마와담에 사 대중 소배고 되바 대중 소배들 마와담에 서로
So so Buddha has been referred to as Mawadame, literally incomparable teacher or a speaker. Okay, and so that praise, what it really is all about, is based upon Buddha's teaching, dependent arising, and emptiness, Pratit Samudpat and Shunyata. Okay? And as we said before, nobody else before him was able to talk about this in the way Buddha did, and all other critics of his time or any other times, they couldn't challenge him, Buddha, on his teaching of dependent arising and emptiness. So therefore, Buddha is called incomparable teacher or a speaker, Mawadame. Another term often we find people use is incomparable guide, right? Buddha is. But of these two things, the more important is the incomparable teacher or the speaker, right? And that's why Arya Nagarjuna, in his third talk, which is the treatise of praises to Buddha, so he really praises Buddha for his teaching, dependent arising, or Pratit Samudpat.
What did Garza Gomoluke Sanji Jumda so there's also going to this or this Garza Sanji Bia the Kong Gobo Tenjung Go never needed some Yini so much a permit. 다음에 시간 가르자 민주전에 최지 송 동반예의 최사비 최지 가신 동반라 무미 님이 노우시 최지 돈이 표반다 상제 때마 누지에 최지 제네 송바라 셰다 在现在这康个电信这种去说的，如果出去把了呀，康个阶段去把它，去的人的朋友电信这种送把，同样的啥子写的，做到了这康个懂得电信的，我们了送把没完，上的了啥子了，写作是。 都做当是日做南做是，日做南是多把年了是，我办在了，我这样啥也没想把的，那没把的，没能力谈把的，从不没把的，别没把说，别没管你说我的到上这个呀。 上街都做些，日做是我们日做出的是吧？都做是上街对吧？都做我只是刚刚做的，马上没有个送来的，马上没晒的，电视个当，看是多一个当的个，做着的这个送都做忙不那，他妈张些吧那些的，日做的都做刚刚那上街对吧？这个是。 电视上我讲的对下是，我就是。
Great Arya Nagarjuna has authored what we call 6 collected works, and so in many of his works he praised Buddha for teaching dependent arising and emptiness. So that's the highest praise. To the Buddha, he did that in the third talk, we called the work Praising Buddha. He did that in the Rigpa Trungpa, 60 reasonings, we call it. He did that in the third talk, Refuting Argumentations, right? In the 60 reasonings, where he talks about how so you have taught that nothing is intrinsically produced and nothing intrinsically disintegrates, and so all things are free of all those extremes, and taught that concept of the dependent arising, and for that I bow down to you. So like roughly translating on the spot, right? So in other words, the point here is that among Buddha's teachings, his teaching on dependent arising and emptiness is the most important and core teaching, and praising him for teaching that is the highest praise, and Arya Nagarjuna has done that in many of his works. So he is called incomparable teacher or the speaker. Okay, so I read quite a bit, but he said only a few things. So let me translate it. Maybe he will continue. I wrote down quite a bit here. So there was a time Buddha's Mahayana teaching, or shall we call Bodhisattva's teaching, declined, and then this great masters, so to speak, came on a scene, and Asanga, as a matter of fact, brought the works of Maitreya and explaining what we called the stages of the realizations which are concealed, like in certain of Buddha's teachings, we call Beba means hidden, concealed. Ngondo means levels of realization stages, and then Arya Nagarjuna, with the help of Manjushri, clearly illustrated the emptiness and dependent arising. And so the Mahayana teaching once again was revived and flourished, and we should remember kind of their works and kindnesses. So I just thought we will stop there today and welcome your questions. Okay, I'll leave there. I'm not going to read my notes here, right? I'm not the one giving teaching, so I'll stop there and we welcome your questions. I think I wrote more than as I was listening to his reading. Do we have a traveling mark? First, we'll go to our invisible friends. No, okay. So then we'll come to the visible Dharma friends here. Would you like to ask a question, anyone? Oh, go ahead. Take it away.
About dedication. If we were to want to think about it, and like what is dedication, I'm wondering what Geshe would say. Geshe Phuntsok Gyeltsen would say it's kind of like directing the energy in a particular direction, because you generate merit, it's a kind of energy, and if you don't designate it or direct it, it just kind of fizzles out, and dedication kind of like it's going over there. But I'm kind of wondering what Geshe has to say about that.
What dedication means, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Mora kandi shwe de dire ken da dagi ngowa sumbar wa gen. Ngowa. Chisa ngowa se digi tonda kande chila koko ko resa rawa gen. Koranzu kodan ngema chebete kenzo sonde jiskezi kewa sa sonam sa ngowa maje be na rawa ge. En kewa de kade parma dol ya ye chinje rawa. Anji charu gas ngowa chebe ina tene ko khalo de masun chui ne rawa ge. So kawa ngowa chesena de kapjo de ko do de res lag do sa rawa ge. Chisa ngowa se tonda gengi deshe choro na sa gengi sidna chebe na. Ngowa se na.
지도시는 모놈도 모아서야지도
No.
모놈서야 되지 그냥 거의 댄스 믹스에 매어세
No.
엔지 용어니 용어 저서야 들려지셔야 될 모놈서요 봐
No.
다 소소 게다서 가르치고 지금 가르치고 찍셔야니 어디 들었대네 이제 용어 저서야 될 그래서 모아서다 모아는 못해 걸어 모놈 가 고마라 가 매나 지금 좀 많이 용어 저서 라서 모아를 댄자면 모아서 자요 모노송리 모아도 모노 체저시나 소소 게자도 셰니 댄요는 들파 조장고가 야사하고 있는 들파 소소 로야 비게 되바도 셰버들 모아스 다 들어가 사면은 다 영어 용어 기본 용어서 저기 내가면 들어지를 모노송
아디 ngowa che ki koba chumsen de karen ta kewa de
모아서 뜻을 다 오나 아니 가서 조정 거서나 이 디부트 어스 디부 두자들 로마르스 되면요 로방고셔는 게자 쳔버셔 엔데 와 로방고 디주르게 밀노야 저다 디저 거셔는요 될 조르고로
알아노
모아서는 거 지라야 마시고
알아노 ngowa maje kewa de yedu gor bage
그와디 머신은 예와디 근데 뭐도 로바도 쇼소나 뭐셔도 호텔도 근데 야마 와지 뭐 로바이나 에디테 디베기로 거로
나래 계신 로바를 망어 버이네 고 kewa ko나 다가스 가르니 yedu
다시 다 간세 조선 뭐셔나 거다 네바셔 줘도 어디서
망어 이렇게 촐라 줘야게 요마로 봐 별로
제가 자 촐라 줘야 저다
Just try to make sure we get a clear answer or some things we want to, right? So Geshe wants to explain the difference between Myelam, which is prayer or aspirational prayers, and Ngowa, we call dedication. Okay? So aspirational prayers means we can make any kind of wishful thinking. It doesn't require any merit or anything, right, that goes with that. Anybody say, no, may everybody be happy. May everybody have no headaches, right? Just you can think whatever. But for dedication, one has to have what we call certain merit, or we call material, right, to be able to dedicate, right? But based upon this merit, right, things happen. So that's called dedication, Ngowa. And so people can dedicate, as you said, right, to achieve enlightenment, to achieve nirvana or other things. So it really, in some way, it directs, right, how you are going to dedicate your merit. But we are always encouraged to dedicate merit to achieve Buddhahood enlightenment, because then we think that until we achieve that, that merit is generally preserved. It remains intact. But should we forget to dedicate our merit, and then sometimes it's not necessarily that they will dissipate or become useless, but sometimes, maybe people might even wrongly dedicate the merit for other causes, right? And then that would be wrong dedication, right? Things like that. So that's why we want to dedicate our merit properly. So in other words, the dedication requires something to dedicate merit, right? Prayer means we can say, may everybody be very loving and happy, and whatever we want to think, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Question. We always hear that anger destroys your merit. Even sometimes Geshe Phuntsok Gyeltsen used to say, if you dedicated it already to full enlightenment, you won't lose it. But some masters say, yeah, you kind of do lose it.
Right.
But we never hear jealousy destroys your merit or pride destroys your. It's always anger. So what is it specifically about anger that is a destroyer of merit?
Sure. Murakandi Shuashik the Dirishakin, the Namju Sunyachik Chavina, and Kiwada Sonam Sane, or Machabayin Baina, any Kondrug Chom to Light or Wage. Kondrugi, or Machabe Kiwada get a chom to get a slice or what? Kondrug Wage. Chidukanliata, the Sunjim Mangor those Kasha Chavina, or Machabe Kiwadi, any Beth Koram Sajum Chimbers Wage. Or Chavina, Kiwada Chom to Mares Wage. Yang kaji sena mare ngowa chesa wa yimi ine yang kondro lambe ne kewa de nyung dugre se roage de mangosh dosa ine bena da nyomo shamba de roage bena ngaje ro roage chagdo ro de kewa kondro na shima jom de kare ina sa roage la kondro ki sonam de kewa chom gre mix lab go ja roage chagdo sana ke kewa chom gre slab ge ma roage di karsa dene di roage karsa ngaje chena kewa chom gre slab ge ma roage 저 콩들이 개와 좀에 믹스에 콜레 뉴버리스 가려스 거게.
그래서 다 콩들 그 슈샤. 그래서 예사 좀 투체효를 쇼고 되게 신 뇨가가
가래네 데 코 이해 가래네 소르게. 다음에는 이게 착도 슈치모 사초로 하게.
콩들 넣으시 이제 신 뇌가 지도면으로 이제 콘도사야디 가르 너서 바시지로 왔다 거기
착도 콘도나시 시베티 첨부 자적 자담에 산은 사에 이나게 착도 콘도나시 자적 자담에 착도 산에 개발 좀 되는 메이나 콘도디 자적 자담에 제
콘도 좀더 보겠습니다
어디 가리 이나서 그런데 좀
그래서 그 쇼쇼도 콘도사야디 가르나 쇼쇼모도 싫어 시고에서 뭐 숙세동 누구로 와? 그걸 뭐 지도 누자 저러
콘도 취주잖아. 콘도 취주들 사이로 사나 개발 좀 되는.
쇼로도 배제지 제가 나 그때 지금 쇼요마다. 요마로.
개발 좀 되는 매나 싫어.
요즘도 좀 이제.
And then again the ngoa chebe 개와디 쇼를 콘도 사바이나 개와디 배 맞좀 봐. 따달 하되 거야. 개와디 마테스 뇽두고 같이 거게.
대대 배제 뭐하시나 거저 용주이지.
아니 뭐 와치는 그 존재 매저로 쳐도게.
마 신은 와신서 스파스 조조 말스고 그래서
반게 단다 개와제 게 상제 터버 와게. 디 제사보다 콘도 사서나 자기 상제를 뭐 셔 개와디 좀 그래 콘도.
조조 디세나 와 마시나 근데 개와 손을 되게 데시고로 배 보다 먼저 용자를 시에는 모든 소리를 지금 onshemu tere sonum tere me ende tige golo shibse goro
No.
o tere duwa
뭐 셰베기 개와디 콘도 좀 투 그래서 먹긴 게.
mo shena kono jomni jom ko jire
아니 뭐 셰베를 개밤 놀라 말게.
o chwa meo de mare mo shena yawadi shen jojo mare sigo ta 근데 누자 tere ba jojo jojo mare sigo
그 남긴 게 망치기 게인디 뭐와 제디 콘도 마좀 버쳐도 뭐와 치고 슬고도 게 니트데 양고 딱다 맞된 그러셔도.
네 kono 마좀 셔데 mare
네.
그때 평균 저 지상 모아시는 코도 계좌 무슨 까도 말해 도요 말해
아니야 대스 뉴르 당버 지금에도 배자와 맞아.
팬도 됐어 이제
Yeah, I want to make sure that Geshe is saying it right or I'm not missing right, because then you are all going to look at me like all your eyes gorge out. Like I'm not saying, I'm translating. So I want to make sure, because I'm with you, what I heard other teachers have said. So Geshe said, I think why anger, we attribute is so destructive in terms of merit is that no other delusions arise, right, in terms of its destructive nature and intensity like anger. So I was even trying to be a devil's advocate. I said, can somebody be 100% jealous? Like, and then 100% is 100%, right? He said, yeah, but still not the same as, right, 100% anger, So that's one part. Now regarding like a dedicated merit, could it be destroyed by anger or not, right? And Geshe thinks, yeah, it could be. I said, then what's the point of dedicating merit, right? I heard from many teachers, it said the whole purpose of dedicating merit is so that anger doesn't destroy it. He said, no, it could destroy. I said, am I really hearing right, Geshe? So I asked like 4 or 5 times, like you have to be clear on. He said, yeah, because first he said the point of dedicating merit is so that, your merit is aimed at whatever goal you want to achieve it, right? So it's not misdirected. He's misdirected. A merit can be like, the example he gave is like the late Chairman Mao. I mean, he becomes so influential, right? So maybe some of his merit got misdirected and he became a very powerful dictator of kind, So we don't want that. But even if we dedicate merit, Geshe said, it's not like, that merit can completely be protected from anger, right? It could still have some effect, reduce it, or things like that. So I double, triple checked it so that I'm not mistranslating here, right? Yeah.
Actually, Geshe has said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Geshe had explained that before as well. This is not the first time he says that
Right.
that's what you meant,
Okay.
that anger is not protected by dedication.
Right, yeah.
So,
That's good. He's very consistent, right? I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
because we hear from other teachers there, right? It is protected. So I said, yours is a very different one, Geshe. Am I hearing you right? He said, yeah, you are hearing right. So, right, yes. So thank you. Yeah, he's very consistent. Sure. Geshe doesn't answer to please us. He will say what he thinks is the right? That's Geshe's strength. He doesn't listen what other people say. He thinks this is what it is.
So, of course, anger can be a form of compassion too. Let's not forget that.
How so?
How so?
Yeah.
If a lusty desperado's about to rape your mother, you're not going to go, I'm nonviolent.
Okay, so it could be form of expression of compassion.
Compassion.
Oh, sure. They can show the king and the Congress size or Wage. Congress side, they are young Karsokorata. Chosen it up in a Wage, Ninjig, Namjur of Chagmarves or Wage. Congress size or Wa. They are chosen it up in a Wage, Ninjig, Namjur Sagumar, Jabaris, Rawage. Me to just switching it in a Rawage. Call ya Ninji Lanza in it, and Ninji the number you call Condor of Rawage. Nam you think Rawage. Me 때부터 서로하게 대 연구연하게 콩도디 닝지기 콩도디 닝지니 딱그 니지는 니 챙기면 되게 만족을 할 초고 되게디
콘도닝제니 다 되더래요.
콩도디 닝지는 기가 이내 답배적인 디스카나 약마다 만족을 할 초고 여러하게 때 도스테지 가로 다 세상마지는 룽랑되게서 저러와 이내 다 닝지라고 그러하게 어디 챙기면도 니
제시 그거 콘도 초두 때문에 뭐 이도 나도 오늘 콘도 요새죠 말아. 콘도 요 말아.
말래
디전 되어지도 콘도 초 남았다 그랬어.
그렇죠. Geshe says that anger and compassion, right? They really don't go together, right? They're incompatible. So anger cannot be an expression of compassion. We can say that. But then I was trying to add, like Geshe could explain, maybe what about our wrathful deities, right? Who are very ferocious one looking. He said, yeah, but you can't say they are angry, right? Then it's wrong. Right? They have compassion, but their outward appearance, right, for a skillful means show that. But it's not because they're angry and now they're showing all this like I'm going to get you, right? Then it would be wrong. That's what he explains. Yeah.
But what about his example?
Yeah, give me the example one more time. Yeah, I used the similar example. But
About to rape his mother. You have to not get angry.
So you will get angry, and you think that's an expression of compassion,
Your actions would be out of wrath.
right? But would you be angry inside or not?
Yes, you'd be angry.
Oh, sure. Okay. So then we will say, right? Kwe siguro pena soso ki malaya michi ki nyejo tanda masamba chebe ina rawage. Soso amalaya michi ki masamba le tukza chebe ina. Ani lunglang kiro wasa rawage. Lunglang na mitilo ta kare chik chego ne thakpo teng chigiro wa. Tesa kore sama di nyingji ki rawage. Namjo mendo sa nge la ne kyo ngone lunglang de yoro basa. Ngone lunglang de yoro sa ge. Chena ani nyingji ki di chago ma rawage.
제대 가서 저 배가 좋다.
Taine
콘도 사람들이 현자 지금 사람 닝제대 아말 사디어 제대 콘도 사다
말씀하다 게 아말 tuk자 칭해 줘로 와. 미디어 롱랑 de yoro wa ge.
제가 아말 닝제네 콘 아말 누이제 콘도 사서 콘도 사다데 아말 누이제에서 아말 콘도 사고 말.
The way Geshe understood your example is that maybe there are two competing thoughts. Maybe you feel compassion for your mom, but you really don't feel compassion for the perpetrator, right? Because you thought, how can he do that, right? You're angry, and then you're trying to be aggressive, right? So those are two different things, isn't it? You have a compassion for mother, but if you're already angry with the perpetrator, there is no compassion inside you. So your expression is not right. Yeah.
Maybe even if you harm the perpetrator, it might be a form of compassion.
Right. Geshe immediately associate 그 양조 독자 맞아 봐 카토바 얘나된 인지기 가서 그러다 첼레를 책임 말을 해서 미디 아마 독자 제대로 와 다소서 그 롱라는 미디 독자 양조 맞아야 이제 카토바 얘나 된 인지기 첼레를 책임 말을 해서 인지기 첼레
네, 그 가서 다디 그 진짜 그 랑서 수바 공을 그 배요 그 코로선 되게 님이 통하네. 그러니까 더는 될 것 같아. 가도 녀모 돼야지요.
Right. Yeah, that also depends, right? If in your mind you don't like out of some sense of compassion for the perpetrator, you don't want him to continue to do so whatever thing, right? Then that could be expression of compassion. But if you're angry still, right, and trying to stop him from continuing to do that, then that's not expression of compassion. Yeah. Well,
I disagree.
Yeah. Koran de mutu mesa, Koran de nyingjig de deso. Could we go to Pam? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Geshe. Now I'm curious because we've gone from merit being a type of energy to the energy behind anger that you could use on the path. So could Geshe give some kind of an overview of energy? It's something, a way to approach energy, because we're like all over the place with energy. Are there different kinds of energy? Is it only mental energy? Is it physical energy? Seems like it's a big subject, but maybe not. So, but anyway, I'm curious because it seems like important.
Okay, I'm trying to understand, right? So Geshe talked about how if we have created some merit.
Yeah, Yes,
she
yes.
said
Raina
energy,
said
right?
that she had learned from Geshe
So we are talking
Gyeltsen.
about dedicating the merit, which is more like a mental energy, right? That could be combined with physical or something. Right? So now
Yes.
your question is asking, are there different types of energies that Geshe can talk about?
Well,
No.
it seems sort of generalized about energy. So, and that seems.
Oh, merit, we mean, yeah. By
Yeah,
energy,
we've
we
gone
mean-
from merit to the energy
Right.
behind anger.
Okay.
Da, da,
Okay,
da,
let me
that's-
go back. Maybe that he might say something that might clarify you. Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
something.
Sure,
as
sure,
a-
sure. 다행히 먼저 선남디 사는 거와 전에 팬도 라이처로하게 다 선남디 가서 디켄데스 대시 정도로 그 선남세디 류지 권 사베 선남 나고디 로하게 딘데스 대시 정도로 권서 상반야 선남세디 고고요 말로하게 강가로 이 지고지마도 지기로와 나다 디
그 손으로다 개와 가르치는 손으로 가 신한다. 얘기 신한다. 류기 신한 시켜요.
that Yeah, so we call punya in Sanskrit or sanam in Tibetan, which usually translates merit. So that could come through your physical action, right? Physical merit or positive action. That's what we usually call positive action, or verbal or mental, right? So anything we do positive, physically, verbally, mentally, we call it merit, punya. So we could dedicate that to enlightenment or nirvana or whatever. That's what we were talking about. Does that help? Yeah.
Yes, that isn't the kind of energy that you have that you can use like anger. That kind of energy you could. Oh, so is this on? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So the merit that we dedicate is not energy. It's positive actions.
No,
Body,
that's what I
speech, your
mean, yeah.
mind. Yes, yes.
Actually, we didn't use the energies, yeah.
Okay,
we
so-
used the merits,
all right.
Yeah, yeah.
But since we're on the topic,
Yeah.
could Geshe just say something about energy, like the energy specifically of how you take anger on the path, and like, that is part of a wrathful deity kind of action.
Okay.
Like Loson's example is, you could be angry initially, but you could use the anger and
to stop the perpetrator.
yeah, and once you're
Sure.
not angry, then you
Sure,
could
sure,
you could use that energy to act
Sure.
compassionately.
sure. Yeah. Condition this go again. The conzo that 단다 간저 반나 녀모 가르치에베네 반나 콩로라비 챵베네 콩로코라를 뉴버시어로 와게 제가 콩로 뉴바디 페저 체네 야 내가 야가 체는데 요마를 왜서 와게 미카시 벤 직된된리 미 두그링 예제데 저고 까야 체도 랑주 룽랑로 와게 이네 룽랑버게 뉴바디 페저 체네로 와미 되게 될 갑대 자직 시고로 와게 니 개와 차도 요마를 왜서 그러게로 와 배나 간저 딩가 나리야 되니 가서게 셰당 람제데 직 시고로 와게 어디 간데 이나서 어디 걸 테스트 데시스토로 나서게 마나 시다 남제데 갈체로 오는게
네, 다 처벌에 내 드려야 뒤이고 예수지 거기 저번 남아 예수로 됐어.
이네 디디오 칼이야지 뒤고 콜론데리야지 룽람베디 뉴바디 비지 지고 말 지고 이네 다 비지 체베디 개와를 하고 말게
다 뒤이고라 될 거기 예수로지 조조다 뉴고 지고 봐.
알레 뒤고 콜론디 개와차고지 말로게
뒤이고라 가서 뉴고 야 가서 거기 말에
말로
다 뒤이고 될 거기 용수요.
이네 콘로디 개외 넘버 주야게 요 말바디 뉴바디
얘 남아 지어서 가 요마지 시나 뒤이고는 거기 야 저번 남아서 그러면 내가 그런 저번 남아서 고번 있어.
주변 넘버 이네 다디 뒤 콜론 콘로데네 용거 주변 넘버 다기
콘도다
이네
뒤이고는 요래.
요르 이네 디 콘로라레마도 꼭 개와차야게 요 말로
교차요.
다 얘네 주변 넘버디 규고롱기 디네 주변 넘버 전에다 꼭 개와차로 오게
네.
로게
뒤이고는 다 교화 걸어 고야 걸어 다 콘도다 요자 뒤이고는 나 잘레들지 뒤이고는 어디 코로 연구를 했어.
아래 디 이제 미지 연구고에나 디 가르치 콜지한 코라콜라레
코라
글로벌시로
다 자기를 배 처음 주도신 그게 결국으로
아네
먼저 다 상업세야지 배 총자조 셰드쇼 직배 직직도 진화시고 시야시면 돼.
라라
어, 저 가지고 하다 이제 콘도 쇼도 거기에 직직고야로.
la ina ko nam gyu de den ji gro in mi ji ti ko lo khong ro yo ga ta
Jigul mar
ma ti ko lo khong ro yo ga ta kan ben ju ko lo de ge cham den ning ji ro ga ge ina ko da khong ro nam ga je ko ya ga de ta thak le che ko ro wa ina ti ko lo ti khong ro yo ga
ko zobe namba de me ya ko que kaza dag de le do re me do zobe namba ko sig do
zobe namba de in mi ji khong ro de ne yong ko
zobe namba ko ro sig ta
these are so subtle and very difficult. I have to very make sure that don't send the wrong message. So in the case of tantric practice, especially the wrathful deities, right, where of course we know they are not angry inside, because then the whole point is lost, right? But they just show the ferocious nature, right? Where they show that fangs, like devouring thing, I'm going to eat you up or whatever, right? All the things. So in that context, there are distinctions made, I think, at two different levels of motivation. Okay. One is called, for lack of a better word in English, the causal motivation, the underlying motivation, and that always has to be compassion and the beneficial thought. That cannot be anger at all. Okay, but at the time of performing that wrathful activities, there is what we call Dorjee Kulong. In that situational moment, there could be angry motivation as well. Are you with me? Right? And what that is required is, because especially if you are dealing with the what we call the negative spirits or the beings, that's the language they understand. So that whole ferocious nature, like how when we do for lack of a better word in English, called Lama dance. Lama should be dancing, but dance, okay, Chem dance. They wear all this ferocious masks, and then they do all this threatening gesture, and then they burn, and they do all of those things, because that whole activities is somehow related to that what we call situational anger, right? That has to come from that, okay? But that situational anger cannot be a positive necessarily. But much of the credit is given to that underlying motivation, which is to subdue them compassionately. Are you with me? So that's the only way where, at least in the tantric context, they talk about that anger could be a situational motivation at the time. Does that make sense? I know this is all very subtle, and this is the distinction between two levels of motivation. Okay, right. Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you please explain a little bit more about independent arising? In the text, it was talking that the Buddha's two main core teachings was emptiness, which I'm familiar with, but independent arising, I know that it's probably a very deep concept that it would take a while to go fully in, but a brief definition.
Sure.
Thank you.
Morang condition the did again shul the sungurwa, the Durdisuna, Casa the Sanjalia, and a tended the Tenjung Rovagan, a Shebekon Tubachella Rovagan, that Tenjun the Tombani second, the Kokakushu inside the Rovagan, and a Morala Alet Durdich Kana to Revesa, the Tenjung Sena. Tenjung Sena Candidature Koalan with a Tonga Sena Candidature Koalan or what did you do it again?
Tenjung Sena Concept. Sure, cut in the cherry rally, but this was the maybe not to Marva.
No.
Or did you Corona Bear on Dudo Motorbike? Sheda Cherry Danny Pay Yunga Tenjung Silver.
No, sir. Tonga said it.
Tonga said that was on his Tonga. So-called Maduba, not don't Tenjung Mara.
No.
The Turba inside Tenjung no Tonga Chara.
No, sir.
Tenjung Tonga is what we are
Then this should tell you so at this point, Geshe, I want to briefly explain it. Of course, he has not got to that section to explain it. We will deal with it. In English, the word we all use is dependent arising, which is called tendal or patit samutpat in Sanskrit. It has levels of meaning, but the one that's easy to understand is that for anything almost to come into existence, is dependent on something else, isn't it? It cannot just come into existence on its own. And the example Geshe has given is the relationship between fire and smoke, right? If there is no fire, there cannot be smoke because they are dependent, isn't it? So therefore, there cannot be a smoke independent of itself existing. Without need for the fire, there can be smoke, right, on its own. So that kind of what we call cause and effect relationship, interrelatedness among things is what you usually think about dependent arising. So this is how things come into existence, right? That we cannot find anything that could exist in and of itself without depending on anything else, right? So that lack of what called intrinsic existence or independent existence, we call it emptiness. You know, of course, we will talk more about those things, right, next Sunday, right? He hasn't gone through the text yet. Okay, hopefully that keeps you thinking a little bit. Okay.
Okay, so there is
I think it's
a
going to be the last question. I'll look at the time. Yeah.
yeah. One's actually a clarification. The other one is a request. The clarification is more of a. You mentioned earlier about a Lama Tsongkhapa text.
I think you need to keep your mic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Say it again.
Okay, so this request is more of a clarification. So you mentioned, or Geshe mentioned a text from Lama Tsongkhapa,
Yes.
and he wanted to know what was the name of it
Okay.
again, and he wanted to also know if there's a translation available.
Okay. Well, that I could answer, right? Lama Tsongkhapa wrote 18 volumes. This is one of them. It is called Uma Kongpa Rapsel, illustrating the middle way, right? Intent or a thought. Isn't that in English? Right. Yeah, that's in English. Yeah. Okay.
Is there a translation available then?
Yeah, in English.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And could be in other languages too, but I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this is a request. It's a little long. First part is the teachings on emptiness are wonderful, but difficult to understand. For those of us who are not so well versed in the Lamrim, and this is the request, would Geshe consider teaching during the week a Zoom class of a basic Lamrim text, such as A Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment by Atisha, or The Foundation of All Good Qualities, or Three Principal Aspects of the Path? And then he says, I request that other new students make similar requests to Geshe. Thank you.
Well, I could answer that on behalf of Geshe. Geshe is available, but the translator is not available. If you can find translator, then maybe Geshe could. I can ask him, okay? If he can teach it, find a translator, it works. This is the regular one. Quran rawa shuya jela. Ane tagi king this on lamrim da chik son rawa ta ngaza sawa de zo lamrim dinde sungje shu manyo sarwa ge lamdren yo ge and lamdren dinde traje thone rawa ge king sungje nang to be sarwa ge king de sungje nang to de ge keju khom go yo mara charang se keju to ne king de nang to me ro na ro ge Quran se keju ra na king sungje nang to be traje thone
ale 제가 시고야 자제도 시고야 무슨 영어로다
Quran se
수수 대바에 수수 수수 카드 드리고 뭐 이제 이제 최냐 라토 고비게 되지 영어라
lotion degree rawa ge devolution degree rawa
게실라 고비게 최세계 말아 국대야 게지는데 세는 디그로
노래
이제 영어 디시고야 영어디
no shamba shenge shamba yesigro Geshe thinks that because the lamp of path to enlightenment is available in English and other languages, right? And it's a friendly reader, so you could read and understand a lot for yourself. And maybe there could be other teachers teaching that too, so he doesn't feel the need for him to go through Zoom and teach the lamp of path. That's his answer, okay? Forget the translator. That's his answer. So Geshe feels that he doesn't need to personally do that. That's an extra thing for him. But there are other teachers teaching it, so you might be able to join that, or you can read, right? Okay. So we will stop there today, and we'll continue we haven't got to the real the concept yet. Okay, we just went through the salutations. Okay. So I believe we don't have any particular requests, a prayer at the moment. So we will do the, as we said, long life prayers for our gurus and dedication. We have this, page color booklet. Okay, we are on page 3. Lord Yazir, Yuzhong, Bega, Ding, Geshe Phuntsok Gyeltsen, Minba, Tenban Zingla, Wangdo Geshe, Zhangnian Chugun Chela, So the page 5. Ma Wang Dame, Gunyan Donga, Den, Kangri, Zhongsu, Ninda, Senze, Zhamgun Jiawa, Niwa, Yapse, Zhangsun, Tenzin, Mawe, Shiba, Tenzin Chewe, Yingguo Jebe, Xie Nigun Changzhu, Dendu, Longdo Tamzhe, Bebe, Beiyun Chen, Duja Jiazu, Gundo, Shabden, Tesang, Gongdang, Xie Zongbe, Yongzhou, Yuren, Tube, Nyagi, Longri, Deje, Nube, Beden, Ba, Tuden, Kandi, Dagbo, Shabden, Dona, Kongmen, Zeba, Namda, Dendang, Zhove, Pende, Zhove, Tunzhou, Jumin, Chebe, Chenle, Gesang, Duje, Dunzo, Shabden, Qizun, Lamen, Tuje, Menlamda, Gesang, Duje, Dendang, Zak. 说说土道制度东巴也知道明白，民主学 page 9。Ramjan Shinge Gombo Seba Men Zodo Namje Yeyun Roma Chozo Zeye Lazo Tamje Dade Mishi Choge Ngodo Tobden Jedan Losan Yawa Ye Shiro Denban Zembe Beye Tade Duje Jongge Yangde Ninje Gombo Shabden Sho Jiden Sumgun Chana Beme Denbe Zawa So Taba Namda Tsudin Yangda Langba Ye Losan Yenden Bedo Shabden Tujon Yazen Nonzin Yangbe She Samjo Namje Zangzin Jumbe Gomjong Shila Songjo Debe Denbe Ngada Chenbo Shabden Chebe Donga Gowan Bojo De Zunbe Chang 准备等等那些当着做开着新年全部晓得开别老子古些这的些准备查查年早上早上班对接人工一些路说不定新年全部晓得特上路浪周围等的些民众大学上面世界老人在这等的比较头顶上 全部晓得说这边昨天咱们送面进来见大家拉上这边那边接到明白两个人都说常着心着人不见马也不能解决结果年吧没吧 공동陪我说东年大瓦人不接马也不能解决结果年吧没吧样公呢陪我说啥些北京就是没到这热让零些年的烟吧的商业行动没得 如果能到新了，就把说抗日绕外过来新港所碰到的话，马路中外，现在是往天津叫做下月4点半，天就节一旦我若热闹满点了，你养大呀面叫我滚到养大老妈的里面去接白了龙居。 사다 란제 연대 랍조는 로제 창게 고바뉴도 쇼